Millions of cups of coffee are consumed in the world daily. Are people drinking it the right way? Today you will learn what are the benefits and what are the risks of drinking caffeine. And if you stay till the end of this video, you will learn on how I optimize my caffeine intake so I can reduce the disadvantages and highlight the benefits. As always, as I'm very respectful of your time, please find timestamps below in the description of this video. I really like coffee, but through my whole life I had an ups and down relationship with coffee. When I was in university, I was drinking coffee every day until one day I ran out of coffee and I felt really bad. I had headaches, I was feeling really tired, I had a very low mood. So I decided to quit cold turkey and didn't touch coffee for maybe 6 months. Since then, I was drinking coffee more sporadically and not drinking coffee every day. But then I started observing that even one cup of coffee was really affecting my sleep. I was a hard time to fall asleep, and I didn't feel so rested after 8 hours of sleep. So I decided to really cut down on the amount of caffeine that I would drink. And what I learned is that there are certain tactics, a certain way we can still enjoy a good cup of coffee or the benefit of caffeine without all the downsides and disadvantages that caffeine can have. And for people like us that we are more sensitive, maybe there's things we can do. So stay tuned in this video and you will learn how I do it, and maybe it works for you. What are the benefits of drinking caffeine? It can increase your mental alertness and concentration. It can boost your cognitive function and memory. It can improve your athletic performance when consumed before any athletic endeavor. It increases our mood that makes us feel better. That's why we like to consume coffee with friends and family. And some studies have shown that coffee drinkers have lower chances of many diseases. So now let's talk about the major disadvantages of coffee. It can really affect your quality of sleep or even generate insomnia. In some others, it can increase the blood pressure or the heart rate in a way that is not very healthy. This can also increase the anxiety levels or jitters, preventing people to stay calm and relaxed. In some others, because of coffee's acidity, it can create digestive issues or even acid reflux after drinking coffee. And lastly, in many of the users, it creates a dependency that when people does not drink caffeine or consume caffeine, it generates a caffeine withdrawal syndromes that can lead to headaches, fatigue, or general lower mood. Caffeine is a psychoactive drug that belongs to the group of alkaloids. It's not only present in coffee, but it's also present in some other drinks. For example, in tea, it's also even present in chocolate, in mate, which is often very much consumed in South America, and is part of the formula of many energy drinks and workout supplements. The main issue with caffeine is that it can prevent a good quality of sleep. And this is because of caffeine half-life. Half-life is defined as the amount of time the body takes to clear at least half of the concentration, in this case of caffeine. For caffeine, this is around 5 to 6 hours, but the half-life of caffeine is around 10 to 12 hours. That means that when you go to sleep at 10 p.m., let's say, you still have at least maybe 1/4 of your caffeine intake that you take if you had your first coffee at 9 a.m. But for so many people, they claim that they can drink coffee very late in the day and they will have no problem. The real issue here is that even if you can sleep 7 to 8 hours per day, but if you go to sleep with a lot of caffeine in your body, you really diminish the amount of deep sleep and REM sleep that you go through the night. And when you diminish the amount of deep sleep and rapid eye movement or REM sleep, you lower the amount of time your body has to repair tissues, for the nerves to rest, to clear the toxins from your brain, and in general this can increase the chances of many diseases and dementia or just lower general body function. That's why many people, they claim, okay, I drank coffee very late in the day, I can go to sleep still for 70 hours without problem, but when they wake up, they're still very much fatigued and tired, and this is because they couldn't rest properly. We should always feel rested and full of energy when we wake up, and if we didn't, it's because we didn't sleep properly. And this is not related to the amount of time, but it's related to the amount of the quality of sleep. In general, drinking coffee, for example, very late in the day can reduce from 20 to maybe 100 or 2 hours of sleep per day. That's a lot. So some studies have tried to put it to the test. When is the best time to drink any of your caffeine sources? And while this sounds very obvious for many people, just not drink it late, it might not be so obvious that all the different sources of caffeine. Just to put it in context, the general recommendation of caffeine should not exceed 400 milligrams of caffeine per day. And just to put it into context, a normal cup of coffee can have between 100 and 200 milligrams of caffeine. So if you want to stay in the healthy state, I would not recommend to drink more than 2 coffees per day. What often people ignore a lot is that energy drinks, or for example some sodas or workout supplement, have a lot of caffeine. For example, some workout supplement can have up to 200 milligrams of caffeine per serving. That's just a lot. In this study, they recommend not to drink any workout supplement after 9 a.m. because of this amount of caffeine. I will in general not recommend or put in consideration if you really want to drink a workout supplement with so much caffeine, because many times all the benefits that you get while training is really related to the caffeine. So you could just drink a coffee which has lower amount of caffeine and still have all this boost while working out. Another source of caffeine is black tea or tea in general, which can have up to 40 milligrams of caffeine. So in general, it would not be recommended to also drink tea very late in the day. But tea also has a molecule called theanine, which can have other effects with caffeine. If you stay until the end of this video, I will explain you how I use theanine and what are the benefits of theanine when it's combined with caffeine. The general recommendation would be not to drink any workout supplement after 9 a.m. You should not drink any cup of coffee after midday, and you should not drink, for example, any tea after 3 or 4 p.m. And this, for most people, will allow them to have a good quality of sleep. Or for many others like me, if I drink even a cup of coffee very early in the morning, it still affects a lot my quality of sleep. So in general, I have different ways I have optimized my caffeine intake, because the general recommendation just didn't work for me because I'm more sensitive to this caffeine intake. The first thing I discovered was decaffeinated coffee. That for some reason it does not have the same reputation that coffee has, but I have found some really good decaffeinated coffee that still tastes really well. I can still enjoy a good cup of coffee. The main thing that everyone should be aware is that decaffeinated coffee does not mean that it does not have caffeine. Some brands can go up to 20% of a normal cup of coffee in terms of caffeine content, which translates to maybe up to 20 to 40 milligrams of caffeine per cup in a decaffeinated cup. While still this is very low for most people, you should be aware that if you drink a lot, then you might go beyond or the same level of a normal cup of coffee. That also means that you have all the benefits, because you can still enjoy what is a good cup, the flavors of a good cup of coffee and the experience with very low amount of caffeine that for some of us will be more than enough to feel all the benefit that caffeine can give you. And if you really want to try to experiment a little bit, try to mix it a little bit with normal coffee, with decaffeinated coffee, until you find a level of caffeine that you tolerate and that it gives you the benefits, but without all the disadvantages. Just play around a little bit with that. As everything, we build tolerance over time. So that means that in general, we will need more caffeine to feel the same effects, which does not mean it's necessarily good for our body. What I like to do is to go days or weeks without caffeine, so then when I come back, I need less caffeine, I can still enjoy all the benefits. To try to go on and off with caffeine intake. Since I drink decaffeinated coffee, I prefer to reserve this normal cup of coffee with the full content of caffeine just to special occasion. For example, when I was running this half marathon, I drank a normal cup of coffee in the morning, and I really felt the athletic boost performance. I was able to run a little bit faster, felt with a little bit more energy, and I really felt I was performing better. So I will recommend to go on and off, and then use it only when you really need it, and on the other days goes with tea or decaffeinated coffee, and you still enjoy the best of the two worlds. As I mentioned before, tea also has caffeine, so I have changed most of my caffeine source from tea because I just way lower amount of caffeine. What many people ignore is what really tea is about.
Sorry for the interruption. We are introducing the Agent Wisdom capsule. Sorry for the interruption. We are introducing the Agent Wisdom capsule.
What many people ignore is what really tea is about, which I'm going to explain now. While the word tea in English is wrongly used to describe any plant infusions in hot water, the real tea is when the leaves come from the plant Camellia sinensis. Everything else, for example, such as ginger, chamomile, or mint tea, are actually infusions. The real tea can be black, green, oolong, white, or yellow tea, which all come from the same plant, this Camellia sinensis. But the difference between, for example, black and green tea is the level of oxidation and different farming techniques which are applied to get these specific types of tea. If you're interested in learning the benefits of tea, please subscribe to this channel, which I will release a video very much soon.
This was the Agent Wisdom capsule.
Coming back to the main topic, tea does not only have caffeine but also has another important molecule called theanine. Some studies have shown that theanine can work synergistically with caffeine. It has been shown that it can synergistically boost the cognitive performance of its users, and it also helps to counteract some of the side effects of caffeine. For example, it can counteract this feeling of anxiety or the raise in the high blood pressure or the heart rate related with caffeine intake. So it's recommended to, after drinking coffee, you can drink some tea to lower these effects of a lot of caffeine in your body. Some people even like to supplement with theanine in a pill form after drinking coffee to increase the cognitive performance boost and to counteract some of these side effects. Something that you should always be aware is that even though drinking tea after coffee might have a lot of benefits, it could accumulate to having too much caffeine in your body. Something I have learned, but I couldn't find any literature to back this up, is that most of the caffeine in tea is released in the first brew. So what I do is that I just skip the hot water, then I discard it, and then I enjoy only the second or third brew, which then have lower amount of caffeine and still enjoy all the benefits and the experience of drinking a hot tea. Another thing I do to optimize my caffeine intake, and this I learned from Andrew Huberman, is to delay my first caffeinated drink at least 1 or 2 hours after I wake up. The reason is that when we wake up, we have high levels of cortisol in our body, which is very normal, which is used for our body to wake us up, and it will diminish over time during the day. It's better to allow the body to clear this cortisol naturally and then consume any caffeine, which can also increase cortisol levels. And this will help to prevent any caffeine crash later on in the day and allow to use this natural process of the body to stay focused and alert during the day. Lastly, to combat the acidity of coffee that to some people can create some digestive issues or acid reflux, I will recommend the following. Coffee's acidity is related to the soil it was grown, the coffee variety, the roasting method, and the brewing process. So you might try experimenting with different sources of coffee, different brands. You can go for a dark roast method or cold brew, which seems to be the ones that are less acid. Also, in general, if you want to experiment with different type of milk, almond milk seems to be the one that lowers the acidity the most. And some people, if you want to try an Americano or without milk, try with a little bit of baking soda. And I have also found that you can buy online some anti-acid coffee powders, which might be a little bit expensive, but might work for some people. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like this video, please subscribe and comment below what is your experience with caffeine in general and how do you optimize your caffeine intake. If you're interested in how I stay productive and disciplined, please watch my last video. Thank you very much and have a great day.